All right, just like that. So, what would you like me to call you?
ZigZag.
ZigZag. I love it. Okay, I am here with my friend ZigZag, and uh, really amazingly interesting human being. And he agreed to do this as long as he doesn't use his real name and isn't on camera. So you get to look at me. So, ZigZag, can you tell me about your living situation right now in life?
Well, it stinks.
It stinks.
It's right now. I guess you could say it's crossed between hanging out at a friend's place and communing with nature.
Communing with nature. Um, do you like living in a nature communing lifestyle?
Uh, I well, I would I would actually probably enjoy it if I hadn't been drafted into it
Hmm.
by circumstances, because I really enjoy when it's weather like this. It's enjoyable
It's
if
beautiful.
you eliminate like things like mosquitoes and stuff like that. The thing that makes it a problem is the bipedal parasites that you have to deal with.
The bipedal parasites, with
People,
AKA humans.
oh,
Ugh,
oh.
you're telling me.
And remember what Doctor Who said about humans: when they get together in large numbers, other life forms suffer. But I'm just saying, uh, yeah, they make what would be a difficult situation on its own, but you could deal with it and make it work. They seem to insist on complicating it even worse.
Can you give some examples of how they complicate it?
Well, by robbing your camp and or just for kicks going in and totally destroying it. Not even stealing anything, just destroying it just for kicks. Because we've got the brains of dog poop, so what else are we gonna do? It's a beautiful Saturday afternoon. It's like you can't expect us to think of something. Look at it. Yeah, well, yeah. But you know, and quite often this is something that, if I'm bizarre, they'll steal things not because they want them, or even they're even going to sell them or trade them for drugs or anything like that. They'll steal it just for the sake. They don't even know what they've stolen, but they'll go to their friend's spot or something and give it away. It's like, hey, you want this, or whatever. It's like, that doesn't make any sense to me. You don't even want this object you've stolen. What if I were, you left your stuff alone and I found your tripod, and not being particularly bright, I wouldn't know what it was, but it's like, oh, I'd probably do something or get a rock for this, whatever it is, or something like that. They'll steal things just to either like throw them away, because I've seen people's stuff hanging in trees. I've seen people's phones with the cord hanging from the tree, going
Yeah.
beep beep beep, and it's like, what, somebody has stolen it from somebody, then decided for whatever reason, I'm going to fling this sucker up in the tree, or clothing or anything like that. Doesn't make sense to me. First of all, the idea of robbing a tent seems bizarre.
Yeah.
I mean, robbing a house is bad enough, but who robs a tent? I mean, what,
Who robs a tent?
yeah, I mean, even if you find money or drugs, how much are you gonna find? It's a tent, man.
It's a
How much
tent.
money do you think you're gonna find in there, or what amount
Why
of
aren't
drugs
they
do you think?
why aren't they getting on a bus and robbing people with houses?
Exactly. It's like, they'll sit around, one call themselves gangster and criminals. You rob bloody tents and you rob each other. You're not a gangster. You just didn't go down with the first flush, man. It's like, it, you know, it's stuff like that kind of irritates me.
Yes, it's
And
exhausting.
like when I first crash landed on the Planet of the Apes here, I observed this, and I was foolish enough to let the gorillas know I could talk, and I suggested, why do you feed on each other like sewer rats? Why don't you like kind of like join together like an organism, and then you know, you can not only outnumber but out muscle the outside worlds, which is really the ones fucking you, not each
Yes.
other.
Yes.
But you're fucking each other, you know. I mean, that's like, you know, your wife or your girlfriend gets raped, and so you decide, well, I'll have sex with her. This will make her feel better. No, I don't think that's the right approach. And it's like, that's what you people do, man. It's like you're already in a really bad, messed up situation, but it could be made a whole lot better if you just like came together and formed a single organism instead of like a bunch of little rodents
Don't you
fighting each
think
other.
all levels of society do this? Like, for example, there's like my communist friends, they love really targeting the police. And I'm not saying the police don't deserve a scrutiny with the shameful things they're doing, but they're not the root of the problem.
No, no, they're just a symptom of the. They are merely a symptom of a malfunctioning machine that has been allowed to go bad in various places.
Yes.
And see now this next statement will seem strange, I know, and if our viewing audience out there were watching me, they were saying like, oh, I can't believe he's saying that. But here's the thing, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because back in other times, I used to have what I call, you know, the sort of hippie syndrome where, oh, uniforms, shiny jewelry, enemy, you know, you just automatically. But then over a period of time, I started meeting other beings, and right now I'm gesturing out like this.
Yes.
That made me look at the other side, and I look at them. I'm looking at the other side, and I'm thinking, suddenly those uniforms don't look so bad anymore.
Wow.
And then suddenly the thought processes started coming in where these aren't the bad guys, you know.
Yeah.
And these guys, you know, now just like everything else, you have your good and your bad. You know, you got a barrel full of apples, you're gonna have some nasty ones in there.
Yes.
But I have come to find that 8 out of 10 cops are actually legitimate, and they actually took the job or got the job, whatever it is they have to do to get it, and put on that costume, which is very unflattering.
Yes.
Because they actually wanted to do the right thing, or, you know, and they really believed in what they were doing.
8 out of 10 sounds right to me.
And, you know, they weren't going to take advantage or use this uniform for their own, you know, privileges or whatever, but they were actually doing it for the right reason. And 8 out of 10 cops are actually decent people.
Yep.
And I find you treat them like human beings, and they will return the favor.
Yes.
And of course, you have your exceptions there, which you can't avoid because they all look alike. But
yeah. So, and the truth of the matter is, if you were allowed to have a place to live that had some minimal security, that kept these scavenging humans that just rob for fun.
That's
It's
about
just,
it.
I think they go shopping in other people's tents.
That's what exactly.
And they don't even want the stuff. They just like shopping.
And they like taking it.
And they like taking. It's a whole lifestyle.
And, yeah, and of course, due to FCC regulations, I can name a few specific names that I've mentally noted. I've taken lots of mental notes.
Sure.
But I can't mention any specific names on TV here.
Yes.
But
okay. Yes.
But and
yep.
Quite often here, I think it's what compounds this problem, because everybody complains about it.
Yep.
But there are certain stars of the show.
Stars of the show.
That everybody knows, and these stars.
We all know. We all know.
Exactly.
They're kleptomaniacs.
And the thing is, they're even proud of it. They advertise it. They brag about how good they are at it.
Yes.
And they've never been found in the river. There's quite a nice
Why
river.
Is that?
There's quite a nice
why
river
don't
here.
Why don't we have social justice, street justice?
Because everybody knows these people are guilty, and they know who the stars of the show are.
We know.
But all they ever do is bitch when these people rip them off and do fucked up
They
shit.
yell and they pout, and then they just let them do it again.
Yes. You know,
I mean, why?
they'll bitch and moan, and then it just happens. And I think that perpetuates the problem, because I'm not advocating anarchy or anything, but it can be fun. You know, now I'm not telling anybody out there to go do anything,
For sure.
but I'm just saying, if there was some kind of repercussions, and I mean nasty repercussions. Now, I'm not necessarily saying
for sure.
but
just how about you lose a finger,
just some,
or you get one smashed.
Well, yeah.
What about the mob? Like,
you don't want to leave it up to me, because
my father-in-law told me about a guy when he was growing up. He owed the mob money.
Oh yeah.
The mob came over and nailed his knees from the backside to the floor. Nailed him, made him kneel down, nailed his kneecap to the floor.
Well, now see, that's imaginative. You got
clever, wasn't that clever?
You got,
and it leaves a memorable impression.
Now, see, those were real gangsters.
Yeah.
These fools that sit around in their football jersey and go yo and showing their pieces.
And you don't have to do it very many times.
Jokes. No,
you're just like, they'll do that, and then you know what? I bet
they
people
cooperate.
pay their bills.
Because, well, I'll tell you, I used to have a friend, and his grandfather was in the distillery brewery business in the 1920s, the late 1920s, right? And whenever the mob, or whatever you wanted to call them, moved into a place, those are the kind of places they hit first.
Yeah.
And what they would do is they would go in, and the manager, the owner, whoever was the big cheese, they would go in, introduce themselves. And they were always dressed very nicely, by the way. That's important. Anyway, nice. They would go in and they would introduce themselves. We're your new partners.
Yeah.
Now,
did you want some cigarettes, honey?
Yeah.
Yeah, just come over here and get them. Yeah, you can have the rest of them. You want to donate the $1?
Yeah.
All right, $1 all. It's just a donation. All right. Because I don't sell cigarettes.
I know. No,
Thank you.
Would you like something to put those in? I could probably find some, but
thank you, honey.
Thank you.
But anyway, getting back to the story, they would go in and introduce themselves as, we're your new partners. Now, if it was your distillery, your brewery, or your company, or whatever, normally you would say, well, I'm doing real well all by myself.
Yeah.
I don't really need
I don't need a partner.
Okay, we understand that. And the next thing you know, two very well-dressed men are holding your hand down on something.
Yeah.
And another one is taking a very large, sharp object and removing one of your fingers.
Yes.
Now, they say, as you're sitting there in pain and squirting, they're saying, we'll be back tomorrow about this same time. We'll talk again.
Yes.
And you better believe tomorrow that owner or that manager was ready to talk.
Okay,
let's talk.
Did you need something, honey? No, I love it. Of course. Yeah.
Take a couple of them.
So what I want to know is, we all know we have this problem out here. We know that there are a few people that are just taking from us and undermining the whole program. Why don't we create our own mob or our own club or our own gang and take care of these guys? Why don't we do it?
Well, like I said, like with everything, you'd have to iron out the problems, because just like when you have a thing and you try to make a security squad, or sometimes they get
this is the problem. The corruption. The corruption. It goes right to your head.
And because you've seen that in action.
Yes.
And
yes.
And quite often the so-called security turns out to be worse than the problem they're supposed to.
I know.
So it'd be problematic, I mean, personally, I think it's a great idea, but you'd have to execute it in the right way with people that aren't going to go power crazy or pull the Robespierre.
This is just like the 2 out of 10 cops that are corrupt.
Right.
It happens at all levels. There's always going to be corruption, but you have to have checks and balances.
Right.
And the problem is, we have the police union that protects these 2 out of 10, that allow them to continue their cruelty and corruption because the union is backing them, and then that undermines the whole system.
It does,
And-
and it makes the good guys look
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, and
Because
then
I mean, like, say
right.
you were a legitimate cop,
yeah,
you've been a cop for 12 years,
Right.
you liked your job, and you were there for the right reasons
Yeah.
and everything,
yeah,
and you just wish the uniforms looked better.
yes,
But you know, you got a few guys, and you know who the few guys are,
yeah,
and everything that are doing screwy shit, and people, oh, well, cops are all crooked.
right.
And you don't appreciate being called crooked because you're a cop and you're honest and you're doing the right thing. But these jackasses are screwing up, and they make everybody look bad.
Yeah.
You know, everybody that's wearing the costume looks bad.
Yeah.
You know, so
So let me ask you this, like, so living out on the street has a lot of downsides. I mean, if it was just a national park or a national forest where it was just wild animals that you had to be worried about, it'd probably be fine. But it's these scavenging humans that are just so annoying and so undermining. Is it ever a thought of yours of like, I can't take it, I got to get off of these streets?
oh yes. I mean, and I'll tell you, the funny thing is, like you just mentioned, human, you know, bipeds versus quadrupeds. Uh, there were periods in the vast history behind me that I grooved in the wood. I didn't have to,
Yeah.
but there would be periods of time I'd disappear for 2 or 3 weeks, and that's what I was doing. I was grooving off
Yes.
into some wood, and there was, these were so secluded that you didn't have to worry about any humans or
Yes.
and there were all the animals that you would think, but didn't have any worry about those guys out there.
The human ones?
No, the four-legged
Oh,
ones.
the four-legged
Yeah.
ones, right.
And at night you hear growls and funny
Sure.
things, and
Sure.
but it just becomes music of the night. You know,
Yes.
it's like, oh, that was a bobcat. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's nice. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, you know what those things can do?
Raccoons.
Yes. You know what a 45 automatic can do? I like the bobcat. You know, it's like and it's stuff like that. You know, and you're not. It's ironic, but you're not worried about the things that actually growl and howl in the
Yes.
night, and everything. And even when you can hear their little paws patting around outside, you don't worry about it, and you can groove with that. It's when you hear those human footsteps that are
Yeah.
bad. Could be just somebody stumbling through your spot.
That's when you actually get worried.
Or it could be somebody who's got bad things in mind.
Yeah.
And if you just happen to be there, you might be one of those bad things.
Because they'll do bad things to you. I mean, it won't.
Some of them will.
Some of them will.
Most
yeah.
of them are cowards.
True.
That's why they sneak around
Yes.
in the dark and do that. Most of the parasitic thieves that do this are cowards.
Yes.
But you will have your ones that
Yep.
aren't hooked up right anyway. And
Yep.
this is a channel that was in my way,
Yeah.
It's just like when Richard Pryor was making that Stir Crazy movie. He got to talk to some of the convicts, and he was talking to this one giant black man that was serving 2 life sentences for a lot of dirty deeds.
Yep.
And the one that put him over was he murdered 8 people in this house that he was burglarizing. And Richard Pryor asked him, he says, "Why did you kill everyone in the house?" His answer was, "They was home."
They was home. Yep.
And so
So there's that, and those people exist on the street.
Oh, yes. And
They're out here.
sometimes usually for the most part they were that way before they were
Sure.
in the circus.
Sure.
But sometimes the circus will turn them into that, or they'll
Yeah.
learn from other
Yeah.
nut cases or whatever. And it's just like, like if there's somebody's got the potential to be a nut case, but they haven't actually stepped over the
Yeah.
line or anything. And then you got somebody that is the nut case, and the two come together. There's this inspiration thing that's bad,
Yeah.
what I would call the dark inspiration.
So have you thought about, or have you tried to admit defeat and crawl to the to the altar of the system and go through AMHA and go to CSS, or get a job, or have you thought about going? Has it become that bad, or is that something you're interested in, or is it not worth it?
Oh, I've gone. I like that bow to the altar.
Thought you
Yeah,
might.
I've done all those things,
Okay.
and they always seem to like they'll go a certain distance, and then somehow the thing you're working with, or people, they just kind of drift away, and it's like, well, what happened? Because
Ah,
you're willing to play,
yeah.
but it's like suddenly they leave the table, and well, the pieces are all
So you
straight,
feel like it's going along for a while, and then
and then
they
like
just
they
it
just
just
walk away.
disappears.
It's like it's like, well, I had this great girlfriend for a while, and then suddenly she just wasn't there anymore. What
Yeah.
happened?
So you feel like the system is fairly inadequate?
In numerous ways, I do, because I think sometimes it'll start with a legitimate good intention,
Yes.
so to speak, and like we're going to do, but then like it becomes problematic, and these different things happen or something, and sometimes it's the fault of the person there because they don't, oh, you didn't move this piece here, move that piece there, and I understand that, but when you're moving all the pieces, like, well, you want me to move this here? Okay, there.
Yeah, you move the
And
piece.
yeah, and you're doing everything, and then
Yeah.
suddenly everybody just goes away, and there's like nobody to play with anymore. Like,
Yeah.
what did I do? I did everything, and what do you want?
Do you think it's a test to see if you like really want it? Do you really want it? Will you bow? Will you take the knee for
Well,
the system? Will you beg hard enough? Do you think it's a test?
I think to some degree, the hoop jumping, which there's numerous parts of it that seem unnecessary.
Right.
I think that's part of it. Just I call it hoop jumping.
Sure.
It's not necessary, but make the people jump through the hoop.
Yes.
There is some of that, but I think quite often they'll launch they'll launch these. I don't know if program would be the right word or whatever, and they haven't fully walked through it beforehand.
It's not fully baked.
Yeah, that's right. And they
It's
get
not
it
even some sort of evil
no,
cabal.
no, they
Just incompetence.
yeah, that would be the word. Because I mean, it seems that way to me, and if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
I would happily have somebody who has the knowledge
I
explain.
mean, clearly people have navigated the system. I've seen
yes,
people get into
yes.
houses.
Yes, they have, and everything. But it just seems like they'll launch these programs, and in the middle of the stream, the boat falls apart
Yes.
somehow because they haven't thought this through. Or, oh, we've got this problem. Well, didn't you think of that one? Well, blah blah blah. And it's like, and you get frustrated. Like back in school when, like, you knew the answer to a problem or a question, but you just wanted to see if the teacher did. So you ask about it to see if they can explain it, even though you already know. You're just kind of testing them, and it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
It's like,
So, my wife worked with a woman who had 6 kids, and she had a house fire, right around Christmas time, because that's the perfect time to have a house fire with kids. And nobody died. But she's not like she wasn't living in her car. She was just living her life, and her house burned down. And my wife helped her along the process, and it was a complete and total nightmare. There were so many times it fell through. It to the point the woman was in the house, and they were like, if there was one outlet in the house that didn't ground right, like you put in, and they were going, the AMHA was going to ruin the entire deal on this outlet. This woman was going to be in her car. So I went over and fixed the outlet myself. Well, because that is the system.
Exactly. That's exactly. Now, like, wouldn't it have just been easier rather than direct this woman's whole ball game?
Yeah.
To they themselves send somebody over to fix this. Now everything's
But no, that's
groovy,
not how the system works. They send an email or a memo to the landlord. The landlord has already done a dozen things for them to get it up to their code, and the landlord's like, "I'm not doing anymore. I'm not doing it anymore."
And that's understandable.
Yeah, because they're like, I can. It was at that peak when everything was at its highest point. They had a line out the door of people that wanted to rent this house. you know?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I'm not doing this anymore. And I'm like, please, will you do it? Will you do it? No, I'm not doing it. And I said, could I do it? And she's like, yeah, if you want to do it, you can do it. And that was the only way that got done. The only way. And so it's not even like, maybe it's incompetence, but it could just be bureaucracy.
I believe that's it. Bureaucracy.
Because there is a law that says all the outlets must be grounded properly. And if they don't, if the little grounding thing you put in there isn't lit up correctly, the deal's off. Can't rent it. Can't rent it.
And to me, that seems like a cheesy excuse.
Yeah.
Because in some times and in some ways, it's almost like this, the system or the organization, whatever you want to call them, purposely wants to sabotage it, which doesn't make sense to me because why would you want to? How will it profit you to sabotage this? You know?
Yes.
I mean, I could understand it if there was like some under the table thing, like you screw this over. And now I understand that because I understand corruption, all the dirty deeds done dirt cheap, and everything. I can understand that, but it's like if there's because you're not going to get any more money on your paycheck or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, so why do that? You know, why have your organization, you know, sabotage?
Yeah.
You know, like you said, one little outlet, everything's perfect.
I got rid of the cigarettes. I'll make some more here. I'm going to finish up this interview and then we'll make more cigarettes. But have some watermelon. There's coffee and Fruit Loops.
And be very
careful. One last cigarette. Eat the cigarette. Or eat the cookie. Oh, you and me both. Yeah, eat the watermelon.
Be very careful. Be very careful of the But
so, what would you like if you could snap your fingers and have anything right now in your life? What would you like to have? An RV.
I would like to make humans develop into the furthest organism they can develop, reach the peak of their evolution.
Yes.
I keep rushing this. My best buddy Fergie said, "Dan, that's why you keep winding up."
Sorry.
That's why you keep winding up frustrated, because you're expecting them to evolve into something much better, and you know it ain't going to happen.
But how about this, ZigZag? So, people are evolving, right?
Yeah, they are.
You have evolved.
Yes.
I'm trying to evolve. But we're all these weird individuals.
Yeah, it's like a bad haircut.
A bad haircut.
Yeah, it's growing out, but it's not right.
It's not right. You're like, okay, this is a good person. This is a person that's trying to do better. But these people are still way behind.
And they're going to contaminate.
And they're going to drag us all down.
Yeah, or they're going to contaminate the ones that are, you know,
like
drifting off from there.
So, you know, the people that are troublesome for me are the seriously mentally ill and violent people. The ones that walk around with bipolar schizophrenia and explosive pissed off disorder or whatever it is, and an axe.
Yeah, a hatchet.
A hatchet. And those are the ones that really bother me.
Exactly. Well, they're dangerous because, first of all, it's not that they don't know right from wrong. It's like they don't care.
They don't care, or they can't handle it. They can't keep a lid on it.
Yeah.
Their madness has consumed them.
Yeah. And
you know, I saw a guy burning wire over in this yard. I have 3 rules, and I know why he does it, because he wants to.
That's it exactly. And
he knows that I don't want him burning wire here, but he doesn't care.
And to quote the mantra, and keeping it clean for the viewing audience, their attitude is like, well, I'll do what I effing want, and I don't give a damn because. Oh shit! Thank you.
Wow!
Because
I think there's an air show going on. Actually.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Air show. What the hell was that?
It was like a diamond pattern. ZigZag.
Oh wow!
It was this cool diamond pattern of old planes, looked like World War II planes.
Sound like a bomber. Or something.
Yeah.
Of course, they're smart guys. Well, you would know. You remember what color the stagecoaches were? Yes.
Maybe we need to think about creating a club, ZigZag. where we take care of this shit, because they're leaving us out here to fend for ourselves with madmen, literal madmen.
Basically,
They're either stealing from us and undercutting everything, they're threatening our lives, and no one will do anything.
well, it's almost like it's an abandonment thing. Like, okay, well, you know, not that you want to do this, but you're doing this. It's like, okay, you're on the outskirts of society, and you're just, what do you want from us? You know, yeah, it's almost like, well, you know, you don't count
because you're lumped in with them,
right? You know, and it's like, and you're not legitimately part of our society.
So
what do you want from us? You know,
why don't you get a house? Why don't you get a job?
I love that, man.
They are always like that. Everybody is like, get a house, get a job. Like, okay,
I've had many jobs, and none of them, none of them helped, man.
Right.
I've done the job thing, man. And it sucks that you even got that screwed up. You know, it's like, you know, and yeah, and it's always so easy when you're looking into the cage and saying this crap. But what these people don't understand, the people that, like, you know, when they drive by the panhandlers or whatever and shout nasty things or get all snarky and everything, or, you know, they just, you know, view the situation and they get all cocky and nasty. What they don't realize, it's like the old song says, we all caught the same disease. You can catch this, and you know, this can happen to you. Oh, everything's groovy. You know, like, you know, 1 year everything's groovy. You're living in your 3-bedroom house. You got your 2 cars, and you know, you got the old lady that's like June Cleaver and everything. And everything's groovy. And then 1 year from that, and you don't know what happened. Suddenly, you know, you're living in a vinyl box. And,
it happens,
and
brother.
there's scumbags stealing your stuff and everything. And it's like, just a year ago, I had a 3-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood and everything. They don't realize anybody can get stung by the scorpion.
I had a man and a woman come to me that morning. They had been living in a house and they got evicted. And by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they're begging me for a tent. They had nowhere to go.
Exactly.
They went from living in a house that morning to begging for a tent.
And you know what? And what I feel that 70 to almost 80% of what I would call the outside society, I'm not saying they're not smart enough to comprehend this, but they just get this snarky attitude. Like when you go to the zoo, you're and the animal's thinking, yeah, but you're the only jackass that paid to get in here. You know?
Yeah, true.
You know, it's like, you know, it can happen to anybody, you know, and there is no
Do you need a tent? Okay. I don't have a tent, but I'm gonna ask people for tents. All right.
Second of all, can you get us a rake over here?
A rake. I've heard there are rakes around here. I'm gonna look for one. There aren't. I heard there were 2 rakes.
I've been cleaning a lot of this up for you.
No, man, it looks great, dude. You're doing great. You're all doing great. Cadillac told me there were 2 rakes. I'll look. I'm gonna wrap this interview up. I'm gonna come over. Right on.
They probably
they
walked
come
away.
and go. See, the guy they ran off with the rakes, and like they have anything to rake.
Well, if you get one, I'll hold on to it personally.
For real.
There's another example.
Yeah.
It's like they rip off the people that are trying to do stuff for them.
They don't need a rake.
How much have you been ripped off?
Constantly.
Yeah, you know,
constantly.
Think about it. If you got back all the crap.
Oh my Lord!
Since you were, you know, starting this.
Yes.
You'd have to have like one of those big dumpster trucks to put all your crap in.
Oh man!
All the stuff that you've had stolen and ripped off and everything like that.
Oh my God! But it happens to you too. It happens to all of us.
I even saved your jacket and your backpack.
I know you have. I know you have.
And you know the person who's going to walk off with it.
I know.
I won't say any names, but the initials are.
Yeah. All right, ZigZag. You're awesome. The system's wrong. You are right. You have to always know that. I think you do know that. This system has thrown you out and lumped you in with all these people. As we do it with black people, we do it with homeless people, we do it with them. We love lumping. We love lumping. We can't. I mean,
makes bigotry much easier.
A famous smart man once said, "You need to judge people by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin or the amount of money that's in their wallet or the size of the house they have or the fancy car they drive." But we can't do it.
Well,
we can't do it.
It's like Samuel Clemens, aka Mark Twain, said, "All the upper crust is a handful of crumbs held together by a wad of dough." But dig it,
beautiful.
you know.
I dig it.
But it's like, as far as the lumping goes, it's a human thing because it makes bigotry a lot easier. Because, like, say, well, I hate black people. I just can't stand black people. But like look, I mean, look, all these black people have done these great things and created these things that you didn't even know they were black.
And
you
you
love these
hate
things.
certain white people too.
Yeah, you know.
I mean,
but I mean, it just makes it easier if they just lump
them all together.
Yeah, because sorting them out, it's like, okay, well, I hate these black people. These black people are okay.
Yeah.
You know? Or, you know, these white people are okay, but I hate these white people. You know, it's like, it just makes it bigotry easier if you just put them all together. You corral them.
Yes.
You know, we've seen it before. It's like, make them wear these little yellow stars, or it's like,
oh, and that can come back anytime.
Oh, that in the course of human activities, events, and history, there is no such thing as ancient history.
Wow.
Because if it has happened once, at any time of humans' existence,
it could happen again.
It can happen any time again.
We never learn.
No, and people say, "Oh, well, that was, you know, blah blah blah."
Yeah.
Where so much, it can just like there's no such thing as an extinct disease. A disease never becomes. It may become dormant. And you know,
measles comes back,
but it can always return.
Yes.
Your black plague can always return.
Yes,
and everything. And the same goes with that. You know, anything bad that has happened in the world of humans can reoccur again, because the same thing can happen, because humans are repeat offenders.
Repeat offenders. You know, I think it comes down to what you were saying. They're like, oh well, that was when they did that. That was when they had Hitler. And that's why we're not going to do it. And then that's how they develop this sort of amnesia or us versus them. Like, well, I would never elect a Hitler. Oh, really? Really? You wouldn't? No. That guy was terrible. And then they do it. And then because a guy looks a little bit different, then it just sweeps right back in.
It's like, how do you know you wouldn't? You know?
Yeah.
And how do you know? You know what your so-called democracy, which is kind of hypocritical
for sure,
isn't. You know, how do you know? You know, how do you know?
We genocided the Native Americans, and then they're like, oh, but we wouldn't do that this time. And now we have veterans living on our streets, unsheltered. Pregnant women living on our streets, unsheltered. Senior citizens living on our streets. And that somehow that's different. Yeah, well, that's different.
Well, the greatest country, so-called greatest country in the world.
Yes.
Got people living in refrigerator boxes.
Yes.
Like you said, pregnant women living in doorways.
Yes.
And you know, the so-called greatest country in the world wouldn't do this. They would figure out a way how to fix this or help this.
It would be all hands on deck. We got to figure out what's going on. We got to get this fixed up. But no, we judge them. Those are no good loser drug addicts. And then that's it. Problem solved.
And another thing, there are some people that simply can't fit into their social box. Like there are some people you can give an apartment or a house to, and they don't know how to comprehend this because they just don't know how to live in this.
They don't know how to live in it.
And it just all falls. And there are these people running around that really shouldn't be running around.
For sure.
And I'm not saying, you know, but I'm saying these are people that do need to be taken care of.
Yes.
And you've destroyed all the institutions that used to do this.
Yes.
And your solution is give them a check and
open
the door.
That's all they do.
These are mental people.
Yes.
Like certain little small people that, you know.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying, you know, block such people up as a punishment for their own good, because it's not safe for them to be out here.
Because now they have a check, and now we have these predators coming in that know they have a check.
Yes. And, you know, and they're going to victimize them.
And they know the exact day the money hits on that card, and there you go.
And, like, you know, like imagine somebody like little short people trying to live in an apartment or a house by themselves, or even if there was somebody that came down regularly and looked at them or checked on them, it wouldn't work because they can't function. And they need to be in these places where somebody can take care of them until they don't exist anymore or whatever. Because you're not going to fix them because they're permanently broken. But they shouldn't be punished for that.
We both know who we're talking about, and I want to show people that person just gave me this. She's always just yelled at me, and she just gave me this.
But
isn't that beautiful?
You know what the cool symbolism about this is? There's no cross.
There's no cross.
Yeah.
Oh, deep, brother.
Yes. Think about it. There is no cross.
I think we're all crucified.
Oh, you are.
I think you're twisting in the wind out here. And the people are yelling, crucify him, crucify him.
And it's like, man, I know I got the look, but come on, please.
I believe sometimes I'm talking to some people out here on the street, and I swear to God, I think I'm talking to God themselves. I'm like, God has, you're welcome, honey.
And well, it's like, now I'm going to have to go in and check my phone. I'd say it, man. But
I know, brother. I got to go to the bathroom anyways. All right.
You can't say that on TV, man.
I know. Well, none of us poop or pee. That's true.
Well, of course not, man.
No, that would be.
But I found out that people do.
What?
Because, in 1960, apparently they produced the idea that nobody does that, so there was no such thing as toilets. But there was one movie that was the first movie to ever show a toilet and show it being used.
Really?
Yes.
Whoa.
And I'll give the answer away.
I'm going to go with.
You know it.
I know it. Don't wait. I'm going to go with Andy Warhol. Did he do it?
Oh no, somebody much better than him.
What?
Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh, genius.
Does it sound ring, ring, ring?
Yeah.
Ring a bell?
Did you ever watch Andy Warhol eat a hamburger on video? It was a half hour of him eating
no.
a hamburger.
Andy Warhol always annoyed me, man, because he was a hustler mainly.
He's a hustler.
A poser.
But some say now, greatest artist of the 20th century. Come on.
No.
I've heard it out of people's mouths.
I know you have, but you got
Who's the greatest artist in 20th century art?
I would refrain from saying that.
Picasso.
Picasso?
Don't you think?
Well, I'm not saying the man wasn't a genius. I'm just saying I refrain from picking. Labels like the greatest because
that is a subjective
thing, right? Disservice to all other geniuses,
you're right. You're right.
So,
you're right.
I mean,
but definitely not Andy Warhol.
Oh God!
All right, ZigZag. I gotta go, brother, because I gotta go to the bathroom that we're not allowed to talk about.
Oh, okay.
I love you, man.